So again, welcome to statistics. So now we're actually going to talk about statistics. So what is statistics is the big question we need to take a look at next. Tammy says she got her book off Amazon for $129. Yeah, so when BMCC shows a price on their website, some other company we hired is kind of surfing the internet to find these other prices. And so you really, it's kind of close to what the price might be. Like when I looked at the book on Amazon, I saw it from 125 bucks up to 225 bucks for this book. Why was somebody would try to sell it for 225? I guess they think they could. People might buy it. It's kind of crazy. So anyway, yeah, it's Amazon is a good place to get it to. So what is statistics? So statistics is the science of describing and analyzing data. And so what we need to look at in this class is kind of like number one, what is data? Number two, what does it mean to describe data? And three, what does it mean to analyze data? So today we're going to start off with the idea of data. We'll talk a little about describing and analyzing, and over the next few weeks, we'll mostly focus on describing. And then the rest of the course, the last 7 weeks, is all about analyzing that data. What is data? Data is just information. So for example, for this class, I have a roster of students. And in that roster, I have things like your first name. I have your last name. I have an email address. I have a phone number. I have a degree intent. I have a whole bunch of information, like student number, like birth dates. Based on your birth date, I get your age, right? So all different kinds of information. Now, these things, first name, last name, almost everybody in this class has a different last name, and most of you have a different first name. So your first names vary, your last names vary, your email addresses are all unique, they vary. So each of these things in blue right here, those are variables in data. So every data set has variables. Now, sometimes the data set might have just one variable, but it could be a whole bunch of variables. Now, each variable can have a value, and those values are based on the cases or units or people, whatever we want to call them. So for example, with me today, we have Tammy, and we have Mason, and we have Susanna, and so on. So we got a whole bunch of different people. Each of the people or things in my data that fill in the variables, so this group of stuff heading down this way right here, these are often called cases or units, right? So if we think about kind of a spreadsheet setup, which I'll show in a minute, each column in the spreadsheet is a variable, and each row is a case. It doesn't have to be that way, but that's often the way data is presented. Spreadsheet's a great way to work with data, as we'll see in just a little bit. So again, big ideas here, that data is just information, and that information is based on a bunch of cases or units, and each case or unit has some variables. So let's look up a different example here. Let's see. So I am a fan of soccer. And here is a spreadsheet of a previous Women's World Cup soccer team. This is the US soccer team. So looking at this right here, can somebody give me an example of a variable in this data set? And you can either speak or throw it in the text, in the chat. Goals, yeah. So we have this column right here. Column G is goals. And my guess is these are lifetime goals for these players. So Carly Lloyd, she's quite the scorer, 107 goals. So that is one of the variables. Positions, yep, that's another one over here. Cool. Now, what would a case be in this data set? What is a case in this data set? Names, almost. I'm not sure what 31 means for a case. Not quite. 1, 2, 3, etc. Sort of. So any particular name or all the names, that's still part of variables. The age of 31 is the value of a variable. The numbers 1, 2, 3, those are probably their jersey numbers. A case is the whole row for a particular person. So in this case, I would say a case is a particular soccer player. Okay. So I'm just going to grab a screenshot of this so I can mark it up. All right, so again, examples. Of variables. Goals is definitely a variable. Age, a variable. Position, right? So each column represents a variable. If we focus on a specific name or a specific age, that's just a value of one of the variables. So for example, the name Alyssa Nair, just on its own, is a value of the variable player. A case, in this case, or a unit, sometimes it's called, would be just an individual soccer player. Including all of the values about that soccer player. Sometimes those are called attributes. So for example, player number 1 here, Alyssa Nair, her case is her number, her position, her name, her date of birth, her age, her caps, her goals, and the club that she played for outside of the World Cup team. So all of that is a single case. So when we talk about cases, those are the individual rows, however we choose to describe them. In this case, I would say a case is an individual soccer player. And that soccer player has values for each of those variables, and those values are often called attributes. So every data set is made up of cases. Hello, Martha, welcome. And oh, we have a couple other people. Bree is here. Good to see you. All right, let's see, let's bring up another one. So here is a different data set. Let's blow that up so it's more visible. Come on. So this data set right here is information about percent of uninsured individuals in a particular state. So you can see I have a column for the state, some information about medical expansion, and then 2010, 2018, and 2019. So what would a case for this data set be? The whole row for Alabama, yeah. So in general, a case is any particular state. Now, the United States is listed at the top, and so it's questionable whether we would count this as a particular case or not. So we would have to say a case is all of the United States or a particular state or district that's listed here. And Alabama would be a particular case, and for Alabama, we have each of those attributes, values for those variables. Okay, so that's like the basic idea for statistics. We have this data that we try to describe. Now, describing it isn't just looking at the data set, because looking at this, I'm really not getting much out of it. So next, we're going to take a look at descriptions. And I'm going to pause the recording for just a second.